So I just finished watching this video and I was thinking, oh my God, Genevieve is looking incredible. You seriously, I can see a change in your body. And, you know, you're doing these absolutely incredible pull-ups. And I was watching this thinking, wow, because the last time we spoke, you wanted to really be working on your physique. And I was looking at these videos going, wow, it looks like it's working. And so then I was thinking, I've got to reach out to Genevieve and get her on for a call. And then you messaged me and said, hey, let's do it. So isn't that how the
It's
stars
funny
align?
when I asked Daniel to take those videos of the pull-ups. I was like, oh, I haven't sent a pull-up video for a while and I want to make sure I'm doing it right. And then I said, and I can't cheat because Israel's going to see. And so I was like, I really got to do the whole full dead hang. But there's something about that full dead hang that you want to cheat at the end, you
Yeah.
know? So then I said, I bet he's going to say something. And you did. You were like, oh, I need you to hang all the way to the bottom. I'm like, dang it.
You're doing really well. No, you're doing really well. I mean, you know, you're doing wave loading as well. So it's no easy feat. It really isn't, Genevieve. It's really, really good. So I want to really quickly, because, you know, we've had you on here before doing an episode of this. For those of you that don't know you and have no idea of where you've been before and where you are now, can you really quickly summarize, where were you before you found the UMS? What frustrations were you having that made you decide, I want to do this, I want to give this a try?
I joined a gym and I started weightlifting. I was new to it. I'd done different sport in my life, but I was new to weightlifting. And I followed a young girl. She was probably in her late 20s and I am soon to be 44. At the time, this is probably when I was around 41 or so, 40, 41. And I started to follow her program and I bought a few of her programs and she was really good. There's no problem with her, but I did notice that I would often have injuries and it was a pretty intense workout and I do like to push myself. So I would push myself all the way on this program. But it didn't have everything I wanted. So, of course, I started to go to some yoga classes and I noticed I was really inflexible. So I'd built some muscle, but I was very inflexible and there just wasn't a good balance. And so I did a lot of researching to figure out how to have the muscle and like lose the weight and be flexible and do all of the things in one. And I would kind of piece together different people's YouTube videos and try to implement different people's regimes. And I think what I would do is create like a weekly plan for myself. And I'd sit on a Sunday evening and plan a whole week how who I'm gonna work out with on Monday, what YouTube I'm gonna work out with Tuesday, and so on. And yeah, that was frustrating and obviously a lot of work. I like to do planning, I like to do scheduling, but that was a lot of work. And I doubted my own ability to be able to find the right pieces so that I was getting everything. So that was before I found you guys.
Yeah, and you couldn't do
And
pull-ups back then, could you?
oh no, I couldn't do pull-ups. I couldn't do push-ups. I couldn't do pistol squats for sure. That girl, actually, the first one that I started buying programs from, she would do these incredible pistol squats, and that was something like I never thought I'd be able to do. And yeah,
So can
so
I just
that was
ask
my
quickly, double click on the way you were putting workouts together with your YouTube. So were you doing a different workout every single day?
yeah, she had a program, so I would follow her program. So yeah, it was different. But then
Ah,
I
okay.
would
Yeah, yeah.
also supplement with people from YouTube for flexibility, for mobility. I bought a couple programs for mobility, and then I would just kind of piece them together myself.
Yeah, okay. Was it periodized, the training? So did you have like mesocycles and
It was the kind of program where you pay for it once off, and then you get, I don't remember, but let's call it 2 months, maybe 3 months of a workout, and then you go back to the beginning. So I would just repeat. I'd buy a program and use it for like, I don't know, a year, and
yeah.
just go through that same program.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay.
A lot of work, isn't it? A lot of mental load, training like that. I did that as well. I mean, I was a personal trainer when I got out of the army already, but I was a very inexperienced personal trainer. And when I got out of the army, I invested so much time into doing exactly what you were describing. And I got the same thing. I got a lot of injuries and a lot of frustration. It just doesn't sort of piece
And
it
you
all
always
together.
doubt yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, you always doubt yourself. Like, I don't know. I don't have the knowledge, I hope. But you always, it's just kind of this hope that I'm going to get where I'm going, but you don't know for sure. So I think that's a big difference.
Yeah, I can really relate to that frustration.
There's something deeply rewarding in being able to go to the gym and just follow a proven plan, though, that you trust, and you don't have to think about any of the planning. You just go, set up your exercises, you know what you're doing for the day. I think that's one of the things that I enjoy most, even using the UMS, and I just cycle through different phases of the 12 phases of the UMS often. I'm restarting the whole thing now because I've just had this operation on my hand, and it is just easy going and not having to think about things. You just follow the dang instructions and just go through it, and it's really, really a more enjoyable experience. You know, for a personal trainer, it's one of the crappy things because you have to always write your own programs. and it's so much nicer having someone else do that for you.
Yeah, I agree.
You should get Rad to write yours, and then you can write Rad's.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I write way better programs than Yanni, though, so I don't really want him to write my programs. So Genevieve, then because I want to focus on two different time frames here. Briefly, I want to focus on the period of that time from when you started with the UMS to the period just before we started working on physique goals for you. So when you joined the UMS, and in that, whatever that was, that 12 to 18 months that it's been since before we started the physique training, what results did you notice? How did it meet your expectations? How was your training experience changed compared to what you were doing before, what we've just gone through, with all the YouTube stuff and piecing it together yourself?
On the one hand, not the one hand, it was a lot of exposure to things I didn't know about. So anything from the methods, like the wave loading method, all these different names, and obviously in the beginning, almost overwhelming, like all this stuff. And you would say in the videos, you don't have to understand everything now, just start. And so there was a lot of information and a lot of knowledge that I gained going through each phase, so that now when I hear you say a term, not always, but I mostly understand what you're talking about. So that was helpful. And then also, obviously, uploading videos and getting feedback. Even now, both my sisters are on the program, and I'll be in the gym with them sometimes, and they'll show me something they're doing. And sometimes I can even tell it's not right, but then I just say, I can't tell, but it doesn't look right. Something's off. I don't know how to help you. I'll take a video for you, send it to Rad. I don't know how to help them fix it, but I can tell it's off. And so you realize, even now I'm almost realizing the value in being able to post that video and ask for feedback, because even though I've done the 12 phases and I can feel, okay, this, and I can put those things into my workout, it's a bit difficult for me to translate that to somebody else that has a different issue or a different problem with their knee or their hip or whatever it is. I don't know how to help them. I can take your information and help me. So I think it's helped me get in touch with my body, how to properly do a deadlift, how to properly do a squat, what to think about in terms of muscle movement, like the mind to muscle thing. A lot of the key words that you would say when giving feedback or critiquing a video that I've sent in have unlocked things for me and helped me do those movements better. I guess a big one, and we've spoken about this before, is no injuries. Still no injuries after such a long time. And I think I came in with a minor, like kind of inside those little tiny muscles inside your shoulder. I'd heard that in 2018 boogie boarding.
Yeah.
And I still sometimes feel it a little bit, but it has not stopped me doing anything. It's gotten better. I had quite a lot of pain when I started those workouts early on, not with you guys, with the people when I was piecing all of it together. But since I'm with the UMS, I've had and no other injuries. So this that I had before the UMS, and no injuries in my time being in the UMS, which I think is amazing at my age. and someone that, I mean, I haven't been lifting for that long. So yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, that's
Well,
huge. That's huge. And then if we talk about results, not only have you unlocked pull-ups, but you're doing weighted pull-ups like we can see in this video here. And this next one, I was really happy to see this because you're doing behind the head shoulder press like this. Your mobility is incredible. That's a super high level of shoulder mobility. Like a lot of people that don't understand shoulder mechanics will say that that's a dangerous exercise. The correct way to say it is there are no inherently bad exercises. There's only bad preparation or good preparation. And because you've prepared yourself correctly for that, you're just doing it incredibly. When I was watching that, I mean, again, when I watched that video just the other day, I thought, oh my God, I've got to get Genevieve on here for another talk. So it's incredible to see the results that you've achieved.
And I think that flexibility is from all those like those loaded stretch movements you have. Like if you're doing a lower body day, you'd have the loaded stretch for upper body. It's just doing that. It's not like I've been trying to get flexible in my shoulders, or I have been doing handstand practice, so there's that. But yeah, I've not specifically tried to get that flexibility. It's just come through those loaded stretches in between your lifting.
I want to focus in on that because that is more powerful than you probably realize. I hold my breath, and I'm actually going to start doing a lot of people keep messaging me saying, oh, you should do a reaction video on this and a reaction video on that. And I am going to start doing a couple of reaction videos, not to critique people. I don't think that that's a great use of time, but to give context as to what Yanni and I believe are good ways of training and maybe not so good ways of training. And the people, we made the mistake when we started doing online coaching of selling flexibility programs. We had this 20-minute mobility routine and we had the flexibility masterclass, and people got these incredible results with it. But a lot of the people that have been in the UMS with us now for 5 years are people who started with those programs. But we stopped selling them because what we found is that we were getting asked what we considered to be the wrong question. People were starting to say to us, how do I fit this in with strength training? And when should I do this, before or after my strength training session? And I think that's a really flawed approach because we tried that. We tried doing strength training and then doing flexibility training at the end. And it means that instead of working out for 60 minutes, you're now working out for 2 hours, or you're working out for 90 minutes, and it just makes it unrealistic. And then there's the other way to do it, which is you do separate workouts. You train twice a day, again, really challenging. And so the way that we decided on, where we put, when you're resting between doing your shoulder pressing and your pull-ups, you're doing some hamstring stretches and some hip flexor stretches on the other end of your body, and vice versa. If you're doing your squats or your deadlifts and you're doing some shoulder flexibility in between, it feels like you're not really doing that much. It kind of feels like, I'm just doing a quick little stretch. But the way it adds up, and you look at your shoulder flexibility now, after 2 years of doing that, like that really adds up. And it just achieves such an incredible result. It's something that...
But beyond that, and we should probably double click into that because a lot of people won't understand why. It's not just about improving efficiency, and it does, of course, do that by grouping the upper and lower extremity opposing skill attributes, strength for one and flexibility for the other. But by doing so, the mechanism of flexibility is actually impacted when we're combining it with strength training, because what actually prevents mobility is not a length restriction in the muscle body. The muscles are as long as they're ever going to be. What restricts it is the nervous system. The nervous system will sense danger or risk, usually because it's not used to or comfortable being in that position under load. So it will cause the muscle body to tense up, kind of like putting the brakes on inside the muscle body itself. And that prevents the range of movement. But what we do when we strength train is we're using the same nervous system to facilitate force in the muscle. So we're fatiguing that nervous system. So the same system that puts the brakes on is now slower in reacting. So when you do that flexibility training within the same workout, it actually enhances the result because it's kind of like we're delaying the brakes coming on because of the fatigue from the strength set prior. Does that make sense? So we do a strength set, the nervous system fatigues, and for the very same reason that you can't jump straight into another heavy strength set, you need that rest interval. When we do the flexibility, we're allowed to go a little deeper than our body would usually allow. And what that does, accumulating over weeks and months, is dramatically increase the amount of flexibility that we develop and the amount of usable mobility that we get in something like a behind the head press like that. So although it doesn't feel like you're doing anything really hardcore on your stretching, the way that the exercises are paired together has been carefully done strategically to enhance the result, and by increasing that mobility, we also increase the strength, because true strength cannot be achieved in the absence of mobility. So it's a really, like I like to say, it's kind of magic unfolding, but without sounding too ridiculous, it really is. When you start to see the results that come off the back of it, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I definitely feel in my body. So before I joined the UMS, I told you I went to some yoga. I was working out in the gym, lifting weights. I was new to it, but I was starting to build some muscle. And I would go to a yoga class, and I was stiff as a board, and my legs felt thick and just like everything was just clumpy and thick. And I remember these kind of basic positions that I felt everybody else, they weren't lifting, they were just yoga people, and they were super flexible. And I just thought, at the time, I thought, yeah, it's because I'm building muscle. I thought I was, I'm a muscle girl. That's why I can't be flexible. But I remember that feeling in my thighs, not being able to sit in certain positions. And now I can do the hero stretch, like full flat on my back, with my legs up and everything. And I was barely able to sit like on my knees, like that, like flat on my bum, on my ankles. And now I can do the Euro stretch, and I feel just space in my body. So there's a feeling that I remember when I was in that yoga class, not being able to move like I wanted to, but thinking, oh well, that comes with muscle building. And now the feeling that I have in my body that feels free and unlocked, and not, I keep thinking of the word clumpy, like my legs felt thick and clumpy, and I don't have that anymore at all. I feel flexible and I can move. So yeah, I have that feeling in my body, the difference of the two.
Ah, that's so
Go
good.
back to the yoga class and see how you go. I've been to 2 yoga classes in my life, and the both times I've been dragged along by a friend, and both times the instructors come up afterwards and said, "Oh, how long have you been doing yoga for?" And I'm like, "It's my first time ever," and they're like, "Oh my God, you just destroy everything," and it's usable, practical, functional flexibility when you develop it under load like that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. You have to send a picture of of your hero stretch so that I can put it in this video when we put it up. So
Yeah, I mean, I've never been able to do that.
yeah, a lot of people can't. I know a lot of personal trainers that can't do the hero stretch, and I can never remember.
Can I just quickly say, because you said something before, sorry to interrupt you, Rad. You said before that you're learning the nomenclature and you're learning how to the language that we use, the lingo, and that's quite liberating. I have had a story years ago where I traveled across the country to do a couple of workshops at a friend's gyms, and I was only teaching personal trainers. And these guys were a pretty elite strength and conditioning gym. They weren't just your average sort of big box gym. And they had, high level personal trainers there. And I had a group of 30 personal trainers that I took through a workshop. And the workshop was really just our warm-up routines for the upper and lower body to kickstart it. And then I was going to take them through a whole body loaded flexibility training session, because that's really what they wanted to learn. He wanted his trainers to learn how to teach flexibility training the way we teach it. And Rad and I were so siloed at Unity Gym because we worked in our gym, and that's the only sort of, I guess, exposure we had to the industry for 10 years almost, a decade. And we didn't realize how accomplished our clients had become and our trainers, And when I went over to this and taught this workshop and had all of these elite level personal trainers in the room, I took them through our 2 warm-ups. So we did the 1 10-minute warm-up for the lower body, then the 1 10-minute warm-up for the upper body with about a 5-minute rest in between. And afterwards, the guys were really challenged. They were dripping with sweat, and and people were coming out going, "Man, that was the best workout. I feel so good. I'm absolutely hammered," you know. And I said to my friend, he said, "Oh, how long should I give him a break before we talk about the theory?" I said, "Dude, that's not the workout. That was just the warm up. We haven't started the workout." and he said, "You're kidding me. Everyone's hammered, you know." And I realized, like, our average gym member was so much more skilled than the most elite personal trainer that I was teaching, you know.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so don't, you know, you'll find soon that I mean, we've always wanted to teach people how to fish, not just give them the fish to eat, but you know, it'll shock you. You go into a mainstream gym and you'll sort of look at the average person and even the average personal trainer, and your ability after a couple of years in UMS will be so far exceeding what is considered above average. You know, it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Genevieve, I wanted to talk about, when was it that you said to me you wanted to change your style of program and start focusing on building some muscle and aesthetic style training? When was that?
It's probably, I'm not 100% sure, but probably around February.
Yeah. Yeah. And have you noticed a change in your body?
Yeah, for sure. It's difficult. So I was speaking to Daniel about this yesterday. Daniel's my husband. Um, yeah, so at the same time that I asked you for that change, I also started to do a calorie deficit. So basically, since I started in the gym, this is before UMS when I went with the other program that I bought, and then joining the UMS, I did not want to do a calorie deficit. I wanted to build muscle, and I actually gained quite a bit of weight at some point because I would research about muscle building and how you need to eat in a bit of a surplus, and I didn't fully understand the concept, and I went ham. And then I packed on some unwanted fat. I mean, I didn't get massive or anything, but just, but I just decided I didn't want to fall into this mentality of just women need to be thin and,
Yeah.
cut and all these things. So I thought, let me start and build muscle. And I spent the time before UMS and then the first 12 phases of the UMS, and then a little bit more than that, I refused to go in a deficit. I wanted to build muscle and a foundation of muscle. And once I felt I'd done that to a certain extent, I thought, okay, now I'm ready. I want to lose that fat and I want to see what's underneath it. And so I did the deficit, and I started to see the muscles coming out that were hiding underneath the fat. And of course, that was very rewarding. But my mind did a bit of a trick on me, I think, that I'm kind of coming out of now, which is when you're doing the deficit, as you know, you lose weight a lot faster than you gain muscle. So in the last 2 to 3 months, I've lost weight, or 4 months, I don't know. And so you see all these muscles popping out, and somehow you think it's because of the workouts, my muscles are like growing. But actually, a lot of that was also the prior work that you had done, and it's the fat that's going away that now makes the muscles appear larger. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So if I look at the mirror, I'm going, wow, like it's popping there. I can see my abs or whatever. I can see the muscles. And I got really excited, and that was really nice. But now it's been a couple months or a while that I've been where I am at now, and I'm used to my body as it is now, that I keep thinking, why am I not building more muscle? Like, I want it to happen as fast as the fat loss happened. But the muscle building is like a much slower process. So I have to keep reminding myself that that drastic change I saw was also because of the weight loss and, yeah, the fat that was hiding the muscle I had. And now I'm like, okay, so now I got to get back into the muscle building. I don't want to go into a surplus or anything. I want to keep it kind of maintenance maybe, and keep building muscle. So that the question that you're asking me is difficult to answer, because yes, I've seen a difference, but I struggle to know what was there and was just covered by fat and what is new. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you should. We'll talk a little bit about that, but you should look into something called lean bulking. You ever heard of that before?
No.
So lean bulking, like traditionally, bodybuilders used to do exactly like what you're talking about, what you've described, but way more extreme than you. Like they would go all in on bulking, and they would eat in a ridiculous surplus. And, you know, a bodybuilder that gets on stage at 5% body fat would, you know, get up to 14 or 15% body fat, but they would really bulk, and then they would cut and shred down to 4 or 5% to get on stage. And there's a new wave of younger generation bodybuilders who aren't ever going to compete in Mr. Olympia. They're probably maybe not even going to compete in competition. They're really just doing it for themselves to be the best that they can be. A lot of them are YouTubers, a lot of them are influencers, and they do something called lean bulking, which is that I was trying to do that without knowing what it was, and then I heard what lean bulking was after I'd been doing it for a couple of years, where you're basically trying to build as much muscle as you can, but without eating so much of a calorie surplus that you actually start getting fatter or increasing your body fat percentage. And for me, I haven't had a DEXA scan in years, but I've had 5 DEXA scans. So by pinching the fat near my belly button, I have a pretty good idea of what my body fat percentage is. And I would have gone up maybe 1 or 2% body fat when I was really working on increasing my calories. But I didn't really, you know, like a week of cutting down on sugar and being, you know, stricter on what I'd eat, and I'd be as lean as I ever was. So, and I put on a lot of muscle. I put on about 6 or 7 kilograms in the space of about 2 years or something like that. So have a look into it, because it's something that you can definitely do. But you're right, building muscle, especially at our age, you know, we're all in our 40s, everybody on this call, and we're all within 3 years of each other. It requires a lot more work when you're older, but it's not impossible. So it's just something that, you know, in a good way, this is something for you as well, specifically, this is a coaching moment. Because you've learned enough about your programming now, you understand the concept of the way, how we always want all sets to be the same amount of weight, same amount of reps before you increase using progressive overload in the next workout. There's a caveat to that. That's something that we say to people in their first 12, maybe 18 months of training. You're at a level now where when I say this information to you, you're going to receive it the way that Yanni and I would want you to. When you want to build muscle, you should always, on your last set of every exercise, go to absolute failure on your last set. So you don't do that in the earlier sets, because if you go to absolute failure in the earlier sets, you won't be able to lift as much, and you don't get the same total volume lifted in the workout. And the total volume lifted really matters. You know, if you do 10 sets at 100 kilograms, that's 1,000 kilograms. If you do, 10 reps at 100 kilograms, that's 1,000 kilograms you lifted. If you do 5 sets of that, you've lifted 5,000 kilograms. That's a total volume. And the total volume that you lift matters. But when you're at your level, and if you're trying to do lean bulking and all this stuff, do last set to absolute failure. And that means, like, even if your program says 8 reps and you get to 8 reps, you know, you almost pause for a rep, take a breath, and grind out one more rep, and you keep going until you literally can't push the weight anymore.
If my program says, like, I don't know, it depends. Right now I'm doing wave loading, but whatever the number says, do 6 reps, 8 reps, whatever. If I get to 8 and it's tough, but I did it, should I do a 9th rep?
In the fifth set, in the 5th set, you do a 10th and an 11th rep if you can. And if you do a 10th and an 11th rep, then that's probably an indication that you need to go up a little bit in weight in the next session. And even, look, in wave loading, it's different. Because, you know, wave loading is intensification training. This is more for accumulation training when you're doing your 8 reps or more, or the supersets, or the rest pause method, or the drop sets, or the ascending trisets, or any of the other advanced overload methods that you've done before and that you'll be doing again. But when you're doing intensification training, it's technical failure is important to respect, because it's the way that it affects the nervous system is what we're doing with strength training. And you don't push to just absolute failure when you're doing something like wave loading, because it ruins what the purpose of the overload technique is. So not for wave loading, but when you go back to accumulation training, which you're doing in your next set, absolutely. Yanni wanted to say something.
Yeah, I was just going to look. There's a definite, and it's important what Rad just said there to define the difference between intensification and accumulation. You don't really want to go to full technical failure in an intensification phase. That's not the goal of it. The goal of it is to increase strength, neurological output, and strength during that phase. For someone like yourself, if you're really focused on muscle building at the moment, then you could argue that you would potentially do 2 phases of accumulation training to every 1 phase of intensification and make that the real priority. But there is actually some really good research that is quite current, new, that sort of shows that the secret ingredient to bodybuilding, to muscle hypertrophy training, is those last reps that you grind out, those challenging last reps. And you don't necessarily have to go to complete failure to get that response, but it has to be really hard, so hard that it dramatically changes the speed of movement, so that you really have to push. Now, that doesn't mean that you break form to complete the rep. That's really important. But, you want those last couple of reps to be really challenging and to
really
slow you
slow,
down.
like it really slows you
Yeah.
down. Jeff Cavalier from Athlean X said something that I really liked in a video that I watched of his a little while ago. He said the problem of not going to failure is you don't actually know how close you came. If you stop when you're 1 rep away from failure, but if you didn't actually go to failure, were you really 1 rep away? Like, you don't know. You might have done that 1 extra rep and then gone, oh, hang on a minute, and done 2 reps, and then, oh, hang on a minute, and then you've actually stopped 3 reps before failure, and that has a completely different effect on building muscle than on going to failure. But I'll say it again, I really like the idea of only going to absolute failure like that on the last set, because I have trained the other way. When I got out of the army and Yanni and I were practicing all these overload techniques, when we were doing them ourselves in the gym, and several times we went to failure in every set, and you just destroy the amount of weight you can lift right from the first set of the workout. Like, you're doing, let's say I'm doing a 40 kilogram shoulder press and supersetted, with a dumbbell lateral raise, and you go to failure. By the second set, you're barely doing like 30 or 32 kilograms. And by the time you're doing the 4th set, you're barely doing 20 kilograms. And so the way that affects total volume, as opposed to if you're doing it the way that we teach you guys, where you probably stay pretty much on the same weight for the first 2, maybe 3 sets. And then on that 3rd set, maybe you go to failure. Then on the 4th set, you drop the weight a little bit. The total volume lifted is way more, and you still get to go to absolute failure in 1 set. And there's good arguments to say that you only need to go to failure once during an exercise to still get that incredible result. You don't need to do it on every single set. So yeah. Anyway,
Okay.
There's a
that's
distinct
valuable
difference
information.
between. Yeah, I was going to say there's a distinct difference between going to failure in a really heavy lift, an intensification lift, and a volume lift, where it's just like the burn has kicked in. You've got that lactate buffering going on in the muscles, and it's just like intensely painful to keep pressing, But, I want to make this clear for everyone watching at home. We are not suggesting to go to absolute failure on a really heavy barbell bench press or a really heavy barbell back squat or something like that in an intensification phase when you're doing less than 5 reps in a set. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about 8 to 12 rep sets, maybe even more, where you're just burning the muscle to failure, and it's fatigue based failure.
And it's what you're doing in these sets of pull-ups is perfect. It's what you call technical failure. It's where you can see that you would have really struggled to do 1 more rep in each of these sets with decent technique, but you get the reps done. So that's the difference. That's technical failure versus absolute failure.
Yeah.
So yeah. Well, it's very exciting because, when I watch these videos of you, it really made me go, wow, your physique has really noticeably changed. So well done to you, Genevieve. Well done. You're doing what
Thank
few
you.
people
Full
do.
disclosure. So while I have you here, so like I hear that from people, and I hear it from you. And Daniel says, even Rad says, even Rad says that your whole body has changed. because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, which is not something I'm proud of, but I am really aiming for that body, that one that all the women want, that muscles, but like lean. And I see people get it. I just recently saw a woman when she was 40. She had like a very average, like she had children, very average body, not worked out at all. She's 44 now. And I look at her and I'm like, that is what I want. How did she do that? It was 4 years. She's done it in 4 years. I've not been at the game that long. But I'm just like, Rad, can you get me there? Because I really want that. And if it takes long, I'm fine. I'm in it for the long game, you know.
I don't
But
see any
I'm
reason
I'm
why you
I'm
can't.
not happy where I'm at yet.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's a good place to be because that's exactly where I'm at. But
All the women around the world that are watching this have just gone, what? Yeah.
no, but it's good. I mean, I get people.
I think it's good, yeah.
Our whole community of our whole tribe in the UMS is filled with people that want to be able to do things that they see Yanni and I doing. Obviously, you know, you guys get inspired by us and you come along for the journey. But yet, I am not nearly happy or settled with what I can do and where I'm at. I'm absolutely striving for more, and I'm constantly setting myself, 3-month and 12-month and 3-year goals, or recalibrating my 3-month, 12-month and 3-year goals. And so I think it's a really good place to be. I think it's a really good place to be hungry. At the same time, it's also really important to take stock of where you've come from and where you are and what you've achieved. And there's a really great quote from Bruce Lee that's ringing in my ear right now, which I think is very relevant. Don't let what you can't do get in the way of what you can do. And he was, of course, talking about martial arts, but it relates to you, where don't let what you don't have yet get in the way of what you do have. Because I guarantee you there's women that are going to watch this video, or there's women that are in the gym that are watching you train that wish to hell they had what you've got. Now, that said, I don't see any reason why you're not going to continue to keep improving on your physique from here. You're not slowing down, you know, and this is the magic. You know, I talked to one of my best friends who's one of my oldest friends, somebody that I don't see often, but every time I see him, every time I talk to him, I'm reminded of how close we are in the kindred spirit that he is to me. And he's a good friend of Yanni's as well by extension. His name's Aaron McKenzie, and anybody that watches this should go and have a look on Instagram at Origin of Energy. If you just type in Origin of Energy, that's his Instagram tag. I went to high school with him. We moved out of home together. We used to do everything together, doing martial arts and everything. And he became personal trainers 5 years before Yanni and I, and he was the inspiration for me to become a personal trainer. And he's exactly the same age as me. He's one month younger than me. And whenever we get together and chat, besides Yanni, who, you know, he's my brother, so he's a constant in my life. He's always there, and he's my business partner. Aaron is the only person who's the same age as me, who went to school with me, who we've gone through, who is stayed healthy and fit. He's a fitness professional of 5 years more than me, and he's one of the, like, I hope none of Yanni or my peers are going to watch this, but so many of our peers that we've been in the industry with for 15 or 20 years, they're not in a great state physically now in their 40s. They don't have a lot of them are just riddled with injury. For whatever reason, they didn't learn about structural balance training when Yanni and I did, and they don't understand how to train their bodies the way that we do. And they come to, you know, Yanni and I and say, how do I get this result? You know, Aaron's one of the few people that isn't like that. And when I speak to him, we both agree. We say, man, at our age, if we're getting better by 1% each week and even each month, you're doing better than 99.99% of people. And you are. If you're getting better by 1% in if you think about it, as we get older, if we just keep getting better by 1% every week, you're doing better than everybody else in our age category. Look at everybody that you know that's in their mid 40s. You're 44, did you say, Genevieve? Yeah.
Turning, yeah.
About to turn 44, early to mid 40s and older. Everybody is going the other way. They're getting 1% worse every week. every month, and they just,
my God.
yeah. But well, yeah, you know, you run into your old friends that you haven't seen for 6 months, 12 months, a year or two, and often for me, I'm just like, wow, where did those 15 kilograms come from? You know, like, you used to look like me when we were younger. So yeah, I just want to say that. Oops, my camera's gone off. I just want to say that to you, Genevieve. I want to reassure you that you're doing an incredible job.
Yeah, I'm happy with it, but I guess, yeah, what I'm saying is exactly what you're saying is I'm not done. Like, there is more to be done.
Oh shit, yeah. I'm looking forward to take 3 for the interview, Genevieve. I'm looking forward for round 3.
Yeah.
When you've gone even further. You guys, you have to excuse me, guys. My camera has run out of battery, so I think that's a sign that we'll call it, because I know Yanni's got to get off to soccer practice. But thanks so much, Genevieve. It is an absolute pleasure chatting to you always. Keep those videos coming and send me
for the advice.
Oh, you're welcome. Always. Yeah, I want to make sure that you get something out of these calls that we do as well. And make sure you send me a video or a photo of you doing that hero stretch.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Awesome. Nice to cyber
Yanni.
meet you. Yeah, you too. Take care.
Yeah.